You are now listening to Talk Your Jits podcast.
Welcome back to the Talk Your Jits podcast. This podcast is, as the name implies, all about Jiu-Jitsu. I'm your host, Lamar Smith, and today's guests are a I'm a black belt and brown belt who runs Republic Martial Arts Academy located in Republic, Missouri. Ladies and gentlemen, Aaron and Alexandra Loudermill.
Hello, thank you for having us.
Yes.
Man, the pleasure is all mine. How y'all doing this morning?
We're good. We're good. The house is quiet. Kids are asleep.
So I know, same here. They're knocked out, so it should be fun. But first and foremost, I'd like to thank you guys for coming on the show. Definitely appreciate it.
Of course.
Absolutely.
All right, yeah, you're the second guest I had that was like a group episode, so this should be fun.
That's awesome.
So
we're really excited. Thanks for again for having us on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, not a problem. So without further ado, if you guys want to introduce yourself again, by all means, and let's hear about you guys' jiu-jitsu journey.
All right, so my name's Aaron Loudermill, and I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Professor Omar French. We are originally, I guess you could say, Carlson Gracie senior lineage. I started training a little over 12 years ago.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm Alexandra Loudermill, married to this guy. I'm a brown belt, third degree. I say under same lineage. I think I've hit my 11 year at this point. Our journeys definitely started differently, and then we came together and realized we both had a passion for it. So It's been pretty cool.
Yeah, our journey of jiu-jitsu and our story is kind of coincides with our relationship and and our marriage. So it's pretty crazy. It's a pretty crazy story. Do you want me to kind of go ahead?
You can if you want to.
So Alex was in the Army
for 10 years.
10 years in the Army.
Wow.
And I started training martial arts as a teenager, but it was all stand-up arts. So I was doing Kung Fu for like 6 years. I did some boxing, Taekwondo, kickboxing, and it all kind of led me to start my jiu-jitsu kind of as a cage fighter in my late 20s. But I think, did you start in the Army?
I started while I was in the Army. Didn't know what a gi was. Had never seen a gi. I had a really cool NCO who was like, hey, you're already going through combatives training to teach self-defense to women. Like, you want more. So this is how you get more. And so I started my journey for about 2.5, 3 years and just no gi. Like, never even knew a gi existed. So that was interesting. And then I took a 4 to 5 year break just to be a mom, which was the time that him and I were married the first time. So we've been married twice. So the first time I was very young, and so was he. We lasted exactly a year. And during the 5 year in between is kind of where I fell in love with the art and then took my break. And then 5 years, we came back together and we both were actually in love with the sport that he was actually doing as a cage fighter. And I was obsessed watching it because that was back when the UFC had started kind of making its way into like the prime media. And then I ended up pregnant, and eventually he talked enough trash to me postpartum that I just got back on and died in a gi for the first time. And it started off our reconnection here. We've been going on being married now again for 11 years, and we've been running our street for about 10. So
so we started I was fighting in the cage. I had kind of left the fight team that I was training under, trying to figure out where life was going for me, because I was kind of in was coming into the beginning of my 30s. So to me, fighting really didn't make much sense if I wasn't going to do it, professionally. And so I wanted to bring my kids into the gym with me and train because I had such a large family. I had spent a lot of time in training camps. I fought like 11 amateur cage fights. So in about 2.5 years. And so I was doing a lot of fighting and a lot of traveling. And
it was definitely a life.
Yeah, it was really taxing on the family.
Yeah.
And so I found jiu-jitsu, and I wanted to settle in and just train in the gi and focus on something more traditional, something I could bring my kids in with me. So we started training at a small traditional Brazilian jiu-jitsu school. Yeah. And myself and 3 of my children, we actually have 8, 5 girls and 3 boys. And
wow.
So
yeah, we have a large family.
3 of the girls started training with me as a white belt. And I had a few years of training, and I had only a couple stripes on my belt. So when we did that, we had another baby.
Yeah, our youngest
William.
son.
And then when William was about 6 months old, that's when Alex decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and get back on the mat.
That's when he talked enough trash to me, because I'm a very competitive person, to get me to put a gi on and die in it, because it literally felt the first. I understand what everyone feels like when they step in that gi, because you feel like you're suffocating. It's death. And then I was like, I'm going to keep doing this because eventually I'm going to beat you. And it still hasn't happened, but
the time will come. The time will come.
I get in good positions, but I don't ever get like the sunken win. No, but it did that stepping on the mat created a competitive drive that I had lost when I got out of the military in 2014. And then I became almost obsessed with competition.
I had no idea how good of a competitor she was going to be when I talked her when I thought I was doing a good thing, talking her into training. But it was really an eye opener on how someone's mental strength can get them through competition and make you really successful. She was just successful right out of the bat. She started competing at blue belt and almost never lost. She won.
I lost a couple.
She won a lot. She mostly, anytime she was in like 4 divisions, she won gold 3 out of 4 divisions.
Yeah, so. I pushed, I think, my body. Now as a brown belt, I always say, like, I wish I had the brown belt knowledge I have with the blue belt aggression.
Of course.
Because now I feel old compared to some of these young bucks that are on the mat. And I'm like, oh, if only you knew me back then.
I know, right?
Together, kind of beside each other, and our kids were competing too. It just became a really a family thing where we were traveling all the time and staying in, hotels and getting up in the morning and going and doing comp.
Our youngest is definitely obsessed with martial arts all together. I mean, he's grown up. His first steps were on our mats. Like he grew up falling asleep to like Muay Thai kicks on the bags type thing. Like
awesome.
He grew up in the gym, and now he's become probably the one that's the most committed to wanting to be the best. And we're trying to teach him that being the best is great, but being the most humble is better. Yeah. And like get those attributes that a good competitor always needs without throwing a fit when we lose.
Yeah, most all of our kids train up to our oldest, who's 24 and a purple belt.
Yeah.
Nice.
The youngest is 9, and he'll be 9 in April.
He's a gray belt.
He's a gray belt. So we've got all ages, all skill levels.
Yeah.
And of course, some are hobbyists, some are competitors, some kind of have their own thing, but they still kind of train once a week. Or
all of our girls, though, all the way up to the oldest, it was almost a rule that they had to be on the mat because of my background in self-defense. Because that's what I specialize in, is self-defense. I got certified through the military. I've been teaching self-defense for longer than I've been doing jiu-jitsu. And we agreed that they needed to not just know the self-defense portion, but also the groundwork of jiu-jitsu, like the confidence to know when you're unaware of what's around you, how to react properly when you are surprised or something's happening. So all the girls, I would actually feel pretty sorry for the person attacking them.
Yeah, I know, right?
But I think that's helped develop a really strong women's program in our gym. Like we have a good portion, I think, but
a good population of women.
Yeah, between the ages of 4 and like I want to say our oldest is in their 50s. We have about 25 to 30 women on the mats throughout different classes. That's awesome. And then our student base, we started with 12 people, and that included our children.
Yeah, when we started, of course, I had been training for a few years and fighting in the cage before we went to our first Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu traditional school, which was Mike Harris, BJJ Association.
He's since then retired.
Professor Mike Harris, Professor Bull was one of Professor Pete Wilhelm's first black belts from Triton Fight Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And he was my first professor all the way until purple belt. So I started taking over classes and teaching at like blue belt, and he kind of was preparing me. I didn't really know it, but he was kind of preparing me to run my own gym. And when it was time, he decided like, hey, he spent 16 years and he planned to do some other things with his life. And because of that, I completely respected that and everything that he did for me. And he said, I'm either going to shut this thing down or you can have it, but you're the only one I know that can do something with it. And at that time we had maybe 12 students, including ourselves. And it ended up working out really well. It was difficult being a lower ranked jiu-jitsu practitioner, running his own program. As a purple belt, we got a lot of flack, but at the same time, it really allowed us to keep our ears open, our eyes open, and grow and learn from other instructors on what's the best way to run a school. And we went through all those experiences through the last several years, and I just got my black belt a year ago. So as to where,
congratulations.
Thank you very much, sir. As to where I think some people get their black belt and then start running a school, I started teaching and running a school. We did pretty early. So we've had really we've had a lot of experience in teaching and coaching. So it's given us a kind of a head start. So here we are, like 9 years later, and we expanded twice in the location that we're at, and then we just recently moved to a new building of our own.
Nice.
It's an old pottery shop that it's got like a stone, just very chill, very peaceful vibe about it. And I think he just took a wall down because I complained about it enough.
Yeah, we're doing some more remodeling, which is a good thing, if we need more space.
More mat space. So we outgrew our old space, and we kept outgrowing our old space. And it was almost to the point where we had no option but to expand or find somewhere else. But it's a blessing. It's a blessing and a curse, because you're like, dang, more money. But like, I think for myself, every time that I've been like, man, I'm tired, why do I do this? And then you see how many people show up, and like, especially the little kids, they can definitely hit your heartstrings real quick.
Can't they?
Why you do it, like. And I think this private building has also put us at a sense of peace, like knowing like we've got plenty of parking space. We can do what we want with the building. We can expand as much as we can. And because we started with 12 and we have close to 180 students now, if not more.
That's awesome.
And we're continuing.
That is so awesome.
And our kids programs, though, that's what hits. Like, we try to make sure both of us are always present. So you get like the dynamic of not just the black belt and the brown belt, the head coaches, but like the husband and wife. We always tell parents, like, we co-parent with you. This is our opportunity to co-parent with you. That doesn't mean we're the disciplinaries. That means that we're here to support you because we hold them accountable on and off the mat. And so I think that's what kept us alive and growing, because
we're very much a family school, but we've done really well in competition, which is really, I think, surprising for a lot of people. But I think because of our dynamic, we are a large family that competes. It tends to attract other large families to come in. So we really, push for mothers and fathers to train with their children, as to where some coaches, are content either way. I think we're like, hey, you will see a lot more benefit with your family in training, building that bond.
Yeah.
He's nice about it. I talk trash to the women, like, what are you doing on the sideline? Like, let's go.
Like, let's get it. Let's get it.
I like to Sparta kick people out of their comfort zone. Like, no, come train with me. Like, it'll be fun.
And that's how my wife kind of she trains too. She's been like kind of off and on for like the last few years, and it was like I found I got introduced to jiu-jitsu, and she would ask me, oh, how was class? I'm like, oh, no, it was cool, blah blah blah. And I guess when she started to realize I was like buying into jiu-jitsu, so she's like, I'll come check out a class. So she would just be sitting on the sidelines and we'll be repping stuff. And my instructor kind of like conned her into it too. So like he would go over there and was like, oh, you want to try this, whatever technique we're doing. And so after a while, she was kind of like, okay, got her a gi. And then, she started to like train more, but she hasn't like bitten it. Like she hasn't like gave into it just yet. Cause she still has like a little, I know it would happen in time. Yeah. It's a lot of hesitation where it's like she's she's afraid of being like upside down, so like throws are just scares the hell out of her. But the thing is,
I have a lot of women that are like that.
But she's like really, really knowledgeable because I talk about it every single day, so it's not like she doesn't know. But she'll be like, oh, I don't think I know this stuff and blah 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 blah. But I'll hear her on the sidelines teaching one of the new students whatever we're going through, like in so much good detail. Like you shouldn't. This is not how a white belt should talk, type deal. But she's just like
she isn't
so
just
nervous.
She's sucking it in like a sponge, just from being present.
We've seen a lot of great benefit from kids who do that same thing, who are really young and they're not quite old enough to get on the mat yet, so they're on the sideline while brothers and sisters are training, and then as soon as they're old enough, they're already knowing the moves.
Like that's like my daughter, my oldest daughter. She's 8, and she was stuck to me like glue. Obviously, being a daddy's girl, so she would come to class with me, and she'd be wanting to try it, but we didn't have a kids class yet. So once we was like, we're gonna get the kids class started back. She was so eager to join, and I think maybe like a month in, I was fully teaching kids class by this time, and that was my second. Like she was running kids class basically.
Yeah, she's like, no, I know how this works too.
Right, that's how she was, and she's like, I'm like, hit it if you know it, know it. You know the warm ups, you know the drills, get it. And she's been my second ever since. So we're not like a big jiu-jitsu family just yet, but once they buy into it,
it's on its way though. It's on its way. I feel like we've done that kind of with some of so we have what we call junior instructors. So the ones who have been with us for years, like we have one who just turned 18, and we started teaching him when we took over when he was like 8. Like we have our 16-year-old
just got his purple belt.
So we have these groups of kids that we've watched them graduate high school and stuff, and they've started stepping in to become like that next instructor. But they've been helping us since they were yellow belts.
Nice.
Like, they've and so we're watching the next group come in where we can tell who's going to be the competitor and who wants to instruct. And so we're starting to guide them onto the mat and go, okay, hey, for the 4 to 7-year-old class, why don't you come on the mat with us and like learn how to be the instructor you want to be? Because that's what sets us up for when we're old and like crippled and can't do it no more, to still have those instructors, because we don't know what our kids are planning on doing with their future, like in a sense of jiu-jitsu. So we might as well build it to where our gym can run with people who have been in it their entire lives.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how my instructor was too. We had people there when I started, but I was like there every single day, like almost every time those doors is open, I was there. And he kind of was like, you've been doing this, long enough. Like, how would you feel about running the kids class? And I started teaching when I was a blue belt, but
Yes. Yep.
I wasn't expecting to like really fall in love with it like I did. So I was like, okay, yeah, sure. I'm like, okay, well, he's like, yeah, if you do kids class, you don't have to worry about tuition. And I was already hooked on that. I was
I can be here. I can be here an hour early, no problem. Yeah.
Sure. I'll do that. So, and I guess he saw something I didn't see. But like, yeah, as soon as I started teaching kids class, man, I was hooked. And then it was like, there's been days that he'd be like, hey, you want to run adults classes today? I'm like, yeah, sure. And ever since then, man, I've been like teaching ever since. So he knew something. He knew what was up. But
you just recently got your black belt, correct?
Yeah, I got my black belt last month.
Congratulations!
Yep.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
That's awesome.
It's still unreal because I just got used to wearing my brown belt.
Yeah.
So it's very awkward wearing that black belt now because it's like, what are you doing? Like, what you got this on for? But
I think he kind of did the same thing. Like he was like, "Oh, this is strange," just tying on the black belt.
It was everything was different. Where I line up, standing in front of the class, when I go and visit my professor, standing on the wall with the other black belts was just a complete honor. It's awesome, man. It's awesome.
Because me and my training partner Brian, we both got our black belts last month, and we was our instructor's first black belts.
That's really cool.
That was wild. And we would always think about like, dude, like when I started, it was so many people that was ahead of me. I was like the only white belt for like up until blue belt, I was like the only white belt. And then it's like I'm like the second in command for the school.
Isn't it
and it's just
crazy
like
how
weird.
People kind of fall off though. Like you commit so much time to it and you're like, you outranked me. Like, why did you leave? Like,
yeah,
it doesn't like it baffles me to put so much into an art for so long and then just like disappear.
Yeah.
Like I respect it when it's like our old black belt, like he put years into the sport, came up in it, like helped build some like milestones in it. And he was walking on like one muscle on each kneecap. Like I get you're retiring. Like you only have an ACL holding you together. But like some people, like you make it to blue, you put 2 years in, you built a pattern of your life and then you just get lost.
Yeah, we hear about the statistics, we hear the statistics all the time, but you don't really think about the statistics happening around you on a regular basis when you put in that long term, when you look back and realize, oh man, I've been doing this for a decade or more. Then you go, oh, these statistics.
When you say it like that,
these statistics going on around me. When I said 1 to 10, when I said 1 to, only 1 to 10 blue are going to make it. And you look around, you're like, wow, how many blue belts do I have left under me?
Yes, because
you see it.
Yeah, because we even went back and I was looking at like old pictures of the academy and stuff. Like, yeah, you see all these people that was like ahead of you. And it's like, okay, yeah, he don't train no more. That person don't train no more. This person just completely disappeared off the face of the earth and whatnot. And I remember talking to my instructor when I got my blue belt, and he was like, yeah, this is the first step in a long journey, blah blah blah. Just giving the spiel. But then that's when I started to see all the statistics of like people stopping at blue belt.
Yeah,
and I'm like just so flabbergasted because as soon as I got my blue belt, my mentality was, okay, let's start preparing for purple. Let's keep it going. Yeah. He was saying like, sometimes it's because when people get their blue belt, this is kind of like one of the only things in life they kind of, I guess, quote unquote, accomplished.
Right.
So it was like a big deal to them. It's like, well, I got my blue belt. I guess we're done now. But I'm like, nah, man, there's so much more out there than just that blue belt. I was like, nah, we want to keep it going to the end, as long as we can take it. But yeah, that's wild when you hear like a lot of people in this sport that you thinking like, oh man, you should have been a black belt by now. You should have been a brown belt by now. And there's just like, nah, still a blue belt and whatnot. So
I always tell. Go ahead, man.
Sorry, I think a lot of people like when they feel, because like for me, for our professor, we have to hold our brown belt for 4 years, and like, so I'm 3 years into it, and like, well, I'm in my 4th year, and June will be 4 years for me, and like, some people don't like that jujitsu. You have to have a time frame. Like, there's a time stamp on your belt, like in an age, like. You don't get to be, you won't see a black belt that's 9 years old. Like, it's not going to happen.
Of course.
Like,
right.
And then when you get into the kids ranks, now there's an age requirement for them as well. And like, I just watched a podcast, I think it was Jocko, I think, that was explaining that even when you make it to green and it's been 10 years, if you started at a young age, you only qualify for that blue belt. So it's like, as an adult, you have to respect these kids coming up and understand, like, no, they've done the long haul. You're dipping out at blue belt after 2 years. They've been in it for like 12. Like, it takes time. And I don't think a lot of people, I think they underestimate the amount of time that it'll take to actually achieve that goal. And like, I meet with my women's class because we have a women's only class on Saturdays at the beginning of the year. And I'm like, okay, as a coach, what goals do you have that I can help you with? Like, they're like, oh, I want to make it to blue belt. That's great. But what do you want to do after that? Like, what's your 5-year plan? What's your, like, what is it that you have? Like, my goal is always ultimately get the black belt. But what do I do after I meet that goal? And I think a lot of people don't see past that. No. A lot of people don't see past the black belt. They just see the black belt. And then once you get it, you're like, well, I guess I met my goal. What do I do now? Like, you always have to attain another goal and an affirmation and try to push that. And I think that's a big thing that the blue belts do. They're like, well, I received this and it's going to take me another 2 years. So I don't know if I have it in me. Like, it's definitely a mental thing to get that next rank, not really a physical.
Yeah. I think what's not being pushed enough is building attributes. Like, I feel like you're always going to continue to learn new techniques and new moves and improve on them and polish them. But I really feel like each level requires a different mental attribute, whether that's patience. Some people just need to learn humility. Some people need to, each student needs to learn something different mentally. It has an attribute that they need to build on as an individual. And it's kind of up to us as instructors to say, hey, regardless of physical level, these are the things that I want to see in you as a student. So building those attributes, I think, is why, you often will see gyms with a really strong children's program, is because they're building the foundation, which is not just physical, but it's also about respect, and it's about appropriateness, and it's about learning how to be a good student on and off the mat. That kind of transcends into the adults. And although it's much harder to teach adults behavior, they still are forced to go through the same training and learn those same attributes, whether they like it or not. So
I definitely think teaching adults is harder because of bad habits that have been formed.
Bad habits that you have to break. Yeah.
I tell our students all the time, like, I'm his worst student. I'm the worst student I don't like to listen. I don't listen. Like, he looks at me and I'm just like, what? Like, leave me alone.
Yeah, I tell her to do rocking chairs, and I turn around and she's log rolling down the mat.
I hate them.
Yeah, we that's very important that what you said about when it comes to belt ranks, because one thing that my instructor distilled in me that that I still hold dear to is like, every rank holds an importance in your journey. And one thing that we display that as in our tests, we test for each rank, each belt. So even though the tests are the same for each belt rank, obviously you show more techniques from blue to purple, purple to brown, brown to black, but there's a certain degree on how things have to be done at each belt. So like for example, we got blue belt and a purple belt testing tonight, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
So for the blue belt, we're not expecting them to go into like grave detail about technique or our principles and rules and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But as that purple belt, you kind of have to get a little bit more, technical, technical with how he explains stuff, because the way we structure our tests is like you're testing, everyone's just watching, you're teaching us what our principles are, what's our rules are, what's, and everything else in between. But yeah, as you go up in the rank, it's like, okay, yeah, you understand what Americana is. Explain to us what Americana is. How do you,
I like that.
Get to that Americana? How do you set it up? It's like yeah, as a blue belt, okay, yeah. Oh, put the arm here, boom, 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 up, you got your Americana. But as your rank goes up, it's like, okay, what if they don't give you that? They don't lay their arm out. How do you set up to get to that type of stuff?
Right.
Right. So, what if the arm changes and stuff like that? So
that's cool.
Yeah, and it's also like, we pay attention to, like the mat etiquette. Like, okay, are you actually helping a lower rank belt? If it's like, if you're paired up with a white belt, even if you're a 2-stripe white belt, are you paired up with a new white belt? How are you guiding them? How are you helping them learn their techniques and so on and so forth? So yeah, it's a lot of stuff that comes with jiu-jitsu that people really don't talk about as much. That that should be talked about, because like you said, that mat etiquette, how you carry yourself, how you represent the gym inside and outside, because all that stuff plays a factor. It's just one bad apple could just tear up everything.
It could be we've experienced that in the past, like one bad apple, and like
what's allowed to happen will happen. And we've got to make sure that our students understand and are strict enough, but also that it's all about the tone too, and being able to correct their training partners without being that guy that has 2 stripes on the white belt that knows everything. It's like, how do we build and a good training partner that has understanding of that compromising tone.
We started with especially the younger kids, like accountability for your partner. Like, so I'm the more strict coach, like very militant when it comes to their discipline. And I'm like, I mass punish. Like, you guys all act a fool, we're going to do some muscle failure, we're going to do push-ups. But you could have prevented it if, say, the kid standing next to you said, hey dude, stop messing around, we're going to get in trouble. We try to teach them accountability for your partners and your teammates, because when you're out in public and you have somebody who's acting a fool when you get older, you can be like, hey dude, not cool, like knock it off.
Right.
There are so many situations that can be avoided if somebody just spoke up. So teaching them how to use their voice now over like the techniques that we teach, we're teaching them how to de-escalate a situation without using the violence that they're actually capable of using. The levels of engagement. So, and then going into that with the adults class too, it's the same thing. Like, dude, accountability for your partner, get them on the mat. If you haven't seen them in a week, message them like, hey, where you been? Communication is huge. And I feel like we're trying to teach them that, not just for jiu-jitsu, but in life relationships. Like communication, speaking up, like, hey dude, that wasn't cool when you grinded on my lip. Like, I don't appreciate that. But can we start again so that we can get back into that position? Like, just having that basic communication and that openness to talk can change your life in multiple aspects.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. Because that's how we were when we, when I was coming up in jiu-jitsu. Like, let me miss a day, my phone is blowing up.
Yeah.
Hey, my instructor like, hey, what's going on? Oh man, I just decided to take a day off. I was like, okay. I looked at the clock. It was 5:30. I didn't see you pull up yet, so I'm just making sure you was all right, And we do the same thing with our students. If they miss we got a group chat going on, so they'll update us if they're not coming to class, whatever. But if we're not getting a message that, in a day or two, we're calling like, hey, They just checking in. What's going on? You know, why you ain't been in class and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, all that stuff is important. I'm the same way too. It's like, yeah, you as a kid, like in kids class, like if one person messes up, obviously there's going to start a chain reaction. And if they see you goofing off, everybody else want to goof off. So like, nah, everybody, nope. Get them wall squats going.
Yes.
Yep.
Start running.
Wall squats are my favorite. Like they hate them. Right now,
I hate them so much.
Right now, my comp class has their own personal goal that they're trying to beat. They've hit 5 minutes solid. And this isn't like me punishing them. This is their mentality. Because it's a 2-hour comp class. And so they're like, if we've done all of this work and we've drilled and we've done no-gi, we've done gi, they're like, if we can last for 5 minutes, then we're fighting from our heart, coach. And I was like, let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
You don't even have to say anything else. Get on the wall. Let's go. I'll put some music on.
Right. I'll get out there with you. Yeah, I get it.
Yep. Like,
That's
okay,
awesome.
we're going to do 5 minutes. What's our next goal? Like the fact that they've gotten to a point where they want to fight from their heart instead of just fight physically means that as coaches, we've done our job. Like they understand that there's more to like competition or just life in general than just going physical. Like once that brain hits that barrier and it tells you to stop, your heart kicks in. And that's what they want to fight with. And that like, as a coach just makes me go, oh, this is why I do it. Okay.
Right. This is why I do what I do.
This is why I showed up today. Got it.
Yeah. Because that's a conversation I've had with my wife before. Because I think before she took a couple weeks, a few weeks off, we was rolling, and I was like, okay, we're gonna roll for 10 minutes, and we're going. I think this is the hardest I ever pushed her, and she, she's breathing hard, and she's like, you can see this panic look on her face, and I'm like, no, keep going. This is where I'm like, this moment here is when you push.
Yeah.
Like you have no energy left. You're tired. Your mind is all over the place. This is where you push. Yeah. Like once you're able to push past this, you'll realize, okay, I get what he was doing.
Yeah, I can do more.
Yeah. And then that's when that happens, that helps you in outside, everyday life. Because life is extremely stressful, and I promise you, without jiu-jitsu, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Oh no!
Yeah, you got to look back on it and talk about it regularly. We got to reaffirm to our partners, our training partners, our spouses, hey, like we've went through it. Okay, you've went through the pressure, you've went through the fight.
Right.
Like we can. There's no obstacle that we can't. Do
you know how hard it is though to hear it from your husband? Like you just want to be like, just shut up.
Just shut up. I know, because I know she gets tired of me as an instructor. I know she gets tired of me. Like, just shut up.
Yeah,
he was my number one training partner.
She's got a little like box on her desk that's got a little quote on it that says like, spare me the inspirational quotes, just give me the coffee. Because I'm such a coach to her all the time.
And I'm just like spare it. Just hand me the coffee and call it a day, okay?
It's something we've been doing for so long. Even just regular relationship conversation is always turned to a coaching moment. I don't try to. It's just what I'm used to.
I get it. Like I get it because I'm a coach too. But
it's a practice. We're practicing all the time.
He's been my training partner from day one because like when I stepped back on the mats, we had no women. It was only me. For probably the first 3 or 4 years, other than our daughters, it was just me. So, and then a lot of the guys wouldn't actually train with me. They were like, no, you're the coach's wife. Mm-mm. And I was like, are you scared? Like, leave me alone. Like, come train. And so he ended up making it to where they had to roll with me before they rolled with him, just so they would get used to rolling with a female and paying me that respect. But then, like, he turned into like a full coach mode on me, and he started being like, you got to just breathe and like relax into it. And I'm like, just shut up. Like, leave me alone. Like, I'm a smasher. Let me just smash people. And he's like, you gotta play your guard. And I was like, I hate the guard. And like, now that I'm a brown belt, I'm like, dang, I should have taken more like opportunity to play the guard. like it's not that I don't play it. I'm a smasher. Like, I love being on top. Like, I love smashing down into people. And judo's my baby. Like, I love judo. It's the one thing that gets me on judo week. I get giddy. I'm like, yes, we're doing this. And he's just like, Coach, calm down. You can't just hurt people. And I'm like, I'm not hurting them. I'm teaching them how to breathe through the pain.
Right.
And he goes into coach mode, and I'm just like, fine. Like, disappointed child. Like,
because I don't like being her uki in judo week. I don't want to be her uki in judo week.
Yeah, I like to
excited.
teach.
She likes
I like to
hard.
teach the judo. I got the privilege of training under an amazing professor. I'm a full-time student as well as running the gym with them. And then I also have my own women's brand called Roll Like a Girl that I travel and teach seminars with. And so I have the privilege of training underneath an amazing practitioner, a master, or
Kimura.
His name's Master Kimura. His last name's Kimura. 72-year-old short little Asian man who, for real, moves better than any 19-year-old I've ever seen. And I was his uki for the entire 8 weeks. And man, I never thought I hurt so bad. But now I get to come back and teach it. And I'm like, yes. Because I had the privilege of not just training during the class, but he kept me afterwards for 2 hours with his black belts to teach me more and to teach me how to instruct it. And so it was such a privilege that now I'm like, let me teach you things. And he's like, let us mentally prep for this week. But no, it's, I think our life has been, I definitely say with jujitsu, our marriage has taken jujitsu and used it to benefit our marriage as well. Like, we don't have the same arguments that most people probably have because we can roll it out. Like,
exactly. I wish my wife was in here so she could hear that part. But
we can roll it out. It's couples therapy.
I'm trying to get her to understand that.
But it's also for me. So I do have PTSD, all of the things that come with being in the military. And it is my mental therapy. It is my, know, when I'm not on the mat due to an injury or something, because I'm not a happy person. Like, it helps relieve a mental as well as a physical therapy. Like, if we're not training, our bodies are hurting.
We give ourselves that balance too of like, she knows on some days when I just need to train. Like, hey, I'm going to be there and I'm going to be assisting you. And, but you know what? Like, Professor's got to get his rounds in too, and I need it today.
Sorry, our son woke up, so I'm like trying to distract him over here.
It's all good. I understand. But yeah, I have those moments too where it's like, if I'm not training, I'm not me.
Yes.
And a couple weeks ago, I had surgery, and they was like, okay, I had my gallbladder and appendix taken out. And they were telling me you're going to have to take a couple weeks off. And I was like, how long is these couple weeks? You mean I need to know. Or you are we talking business days? Right? What are we talking?
We had a student that was the same way.
You're
and stop.
So I don't even function in weeks. So 2 open mats, that's what you're saying? 2.
Can I just flow roll? What are you doing? Because they was you have to take.
You're like, what's the amount of pressure in pounds?
Exactly. So when they had asked me, they was like, so what you do for a living? I was like, I'm a martial arts instructor. And the whole room was just like, yeah, you definitely not doing nothing for 2 weeks. So I was like, man, these past 2 weeks were brutal. Not being able to step on the mats. I mean, I went from going 4 or 5 days a week to doing nothing.
Oh, that's like
losing my skull.
That was like having an addiction taken away.
We have a student, blue belt, that went through the same thing just a couple months ago, and he's rolling harder than ever, and he's training hard. So, brother, take your time. Make sure that, I know we want to get back on the mat as soon as we can. We want to do all the things, but let me give you a piece of advice that I just recently took from Professor Daniel Souza, 4th or 5th degree black belt, Carlson Gracie senior black belt. He said, when you're injured or when you're healing, take extra time off. Jiu-jitsu is always going to be there, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't
It's
rush
so
back.
hard to listen
Make
to,
sure
though.
that
It is.
You know,
It
So
is.
I had a neck injury recently,
Mhm.
and first time in 12 years, I took 4 weeks without training.
Yep.
I went to doctors, I went to chiropractors. It finally ended, like I finally got some relief with acupuncture. 3
Yeah.
weeks of acupuncture sessions finally got me back on the mats and training without this crazy pinched nerve that I had in my neck. But it was just an affirmation that, you know what, we've got to take the time off because we can only be our best selves when, you know, we're never going to be 100%. But man,
not at
those
this
percentages
age.
start dwindling and dwindling down lower and lower. You know, those little pieces of injuries, they start
Building
becoming
up.
bigger and bigger injuries when we don't really
Yeah.
we need to heal them.
Yeah. But I told myself, you know, I'm gonna take the 2 weeks off, but I'm not gonna do any like hard rolling until like the beginning of the year. So that way I can have that'll be more than enough time to get fully healed up, and then I'm on it. Starting January, I'm gunning it.
Back on.
So
Our student stepped on, and I was the one that was like, stop. Like, stop. You're gonna hurt your I'm not rolling with you, homie. Like, this isn't that, because he wanted to go full-fledged. And I was like, you just got out of the hospital like a week and a half ago. Like, the gas hasn't even dissipated from the gallbladder. Like, stop.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
It was stressing me as the instructor out. Like, it was.
Someone, though, that I'm really proud of, because he's made a lot of life changes.
Oh, yeah.
And not only has he made changes in his life, in his routines, but he's really now very conscious about what he puts in his body.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's really a breath of fresh air seeing someone that's made a, you know,
like a 360
complete change.
Yeah.
And then is also very influential to other students, saying, hey, you should not do this, and you should probably eat that. And we need that check. You know what I mean? Just like we talked about with students checking each other about you know, appropriateness, and about, you know, hey, you don't step on the mat. All the little things. Like, we need our training partners, adult training partners, to check us about our diet, check us about our good health.
He's
so,
a great, he stepped on the
too.
mats and became a great kids instructor for us
too.
Like, they love him. Like, he came from walking in looking like this big old grumpy, like, grizzly bear, and turning into probably one of the most passionate, like, kind-hearted, patient instructors. And he helps him sometimes in the kids class, because I am a full-time student. I don't get to be in the morning classes unless we're on break. And he stepped in and started assisting him with this. We have a homeschool class that he started assisting him in. And when he's not on the mat, they're like, Coach Josh, what's up, Coach Josh? These little like 8-year-olds are like, Coach, where you at? Why aren't you on the mats? And I was like,
shout out to Coach Josh.
Yeah, sorry, I said your
name. We love you. Thanks, man.
But he's such
like a good guy
person to have, and we're grateful to have a ton of students that are like that. That if, like, when he was injured, there were days where, like, I took over all the classes, and I had our guys, like our upper ranks, were like, where do you need us, coach? Like,
that's awesome.
When you build your students to be humble and to respect the art and to respect your professors, and you build it as a family, like, the minute you need something, they're on it. Like, if he goes out of town, because we do contracting work as cutmen and hand wrappers for one of the fight crews, PFC. When we're out of town, they're like, what do you need from us? Like, that to me is better than any amount of money, any amount of, like, how big our school gets. Like, having people that will always have your back because they love, respect, and appreciate, like, what you've given them. That is, like, it's non-valuable, but it makes you the richest people in the world.
Yeah, because like when I had the surgery, you know, everybody reached out to me, make sure I was okay. And then I took that whole first week off. I didn't even go to the gym. I didn't even think about it. And then that second week, I was like, okay, I at least want to just show up. You know,
Yes.
I made sure my wife looked at me funny. I was like, look, if you want, you can check my bag is in the house. My bag is not in the car. I'm lifting my
She's
shirt
like,
up, going through
I
security
know
check.
you got
Like I
an
got
extra gi there. I know you
I'm
got
like,
an
you can
extra
check my
gi.
bag, you can check the car. I'm lifting my shirt. Like I have nothing under. I'm going through full body security check. I have nothing jujitsu related on me.
That's him too.
But when I got there, everybody was like, "Oh man, so happy to see you." They was like, "Wait, you're not getting on the mats, are you?" I'm like, "No, I'm not."
Oh, they
I'm
were
not getting on
about
the
to
mats
check you. They're like,
yeah, they
hold
checked
up.
me. They checked me quick. They was, "Oh man, I'm so happy to see you." I don't see no bag. You ain't get on the mats, are you? I'm like, "Nah, I'm just here to check out class, man. That's all." They was like, "Okay, just making sure."
Mhm.
But yeah, that's very awesome to hear, man. It's nothing like having that. I won't say security, but having that security of knowing like if anything was to happen, you know your school is okay.
Mhm.
You know that everything is going to be taken care of without you having to like, you're worrying your whole trip. Like, oh man, is the doors going to be locked up? Is the school going to be ran? Are we going to lose
Is it going to
students?
be
Are we going
burned
to do
down
this to
for
them?
some odd
It's going to be
reason?
burned down for like someone leave a charger
Yeah.
plugged up or something like that. But that's amazing. That's nothing short of amazing, and that's very cool to hear that how you guys are able to run this as a family for so long. To the point like your whole family is into it. I know there's like geese all over the house at this point.
Oh,
It's like
we have a whole
50
room.
geese in each room. Yeah.
Yeah, a whole room. He
I
had to
get
buy
it.
me the industrial washer and dryer because we were breaking them with the amount of uniforms we had to wash on a weekly basis. Like
Those are goals right there, I tell you.
I had to have a triple loader, like just for the geese alone.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. But Alex and Aaron, we have a staple here at Talk Your Jits podcast. We ask everybody who comes on the show this question. Past or present, the top 3 people you would love to get a chance to roll with.
Oh, dang. I've been blessed to be able to train with some of my lists, like Emily Kwok and Sophia McDermott, and some of those women. I have already been able to train with them, and it was a blessing. It really was. I don't know. I don't think that there's a specific person for me, but I think there's locations for me. Like I want to be able to head up to New York and train with some women up there, or head to California. I know there's some women in Oregon who are just like top level. So I think there's not really a person, but like locations that I want to, because I'm big about each place that you go to, the style is just so different. And I think that's what I want, is like the different styles, like to challenge me.
Nice. Bless you, little one.
He's mad because he wanted to come on camera. And I was like, no, you're in your pajamas still.
For me, I have also been really fortunate enough to take some really cool trips, spend 4 or 5 days in each city and get to train with some high level guys and meet, roll, get some privates with some really good names, really awesome practitioners and legends of the sport. But there's still some guys on my list. There's still some guys in different styles. Since I've been such a traditional gi practitioner for so long, I'd love to go to 10th Planet in San Diego and check out those guys out there. There's the Mendez brothers, who wouldn't want to learn from those guys. The art of jiu-jitsu, that'd be awesome. She's talking about a trip to New York. I'd be beside her. So and then I think maybe not necessarily a person, but a place. Like I think my dream, I've been getting some invites and I'm really ready to take that offer, is to travel down to Brazil and do one training down there and stay for like a week with one of my good brothers. So I think that's the jam, man. That's it.
I think we've been blessed to travel a lot. Like we take cross training to probably a whole different level. Like he'll jiu-jitsu trips 4 or 5 days. I'm like, I got the gym and the kids, you go. I go to a full-blown women's camps summertime and like fall sometimes and travel with 250 women at a time. Like, we make it a point to put ourselves in the community of jiu-jitsu, as well as like I said, I got Roll Like a Girl. I traveled to all types of places to teach seminars and employ those black belt women, like, which gives me the opportunity to now train with them. Like,
right. That's dope. That's so dope.
Yeah.
That's so
we
dope.
try to make it to where we're out there constantly. Like, we might be from a small town, but we're going to make it to where this small town has a name.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you're definitely on your way. But unless you got any questions for me, I would love for you guys to let the people know if you got anything coming up, any plans in the future. The floor is all yours.
You'll see us at the local AGF tournaments. Whether it's Kansas City, Missouri, we travel all around to Oklahoma, Arkansas. So we're really Midwest traveling. We'll come all the way down to Dallas for some big tournaments. Just like Alex said, look out for her Roll Like a Girl.
Yeah. January 1st, we're kicking off seminars all over the U.S.
She'll be doing women's competition seminars. Yeah. We'll continue to build and grow the gym. Growth is really important, but more important than growth is the growth of your relationships with each of your students and your training partners. So we never want to, we always want to talk highly of the connections. So we really appreciate you having us and allowing us to get on here, represent our school, Republic Martial Arts Academy, and our family, the Loudermill family. And just keep watching for the name. You'll see us.
Thank you again.
Yeah, man.
To be on your podcast.
Not a problem. I definitely appreciate you guys, man, for for you reaching out. I was like, hey, you looking for guests? I'm like, yeah, sure, always. So yeah, definitely appreciate that, you guys. And I wish you guys the best of luck in everything you guys are doing. You guys are definitely goals right now. So
well, we wish you a speedy recovery too, and that you're able to get back on the mat fully in a short time.
Yes.
Yeah. I
Don't worry,
wait.
your wife will catch the bug soon enough.
She will.
It just takes us a little more time to get used to being told what to do sometimes.
Yeah, but when she do, she's definitely going to be a handful. I know it for sure.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, that's the end of today's episode. I would like to thank Aaron and Alex one more time for coming on the show and blessing us with their jiu-jitsu knowledge. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please go and follow our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube page to stay up to date on all future episodes. This has been Talk Your Jits podcast. Keep rolling, keep grinding, and remember, long live jiu-jitsu. Have a great day.